Let me ask you something, and I want you to answer honestly, not to me, but to yourself. When was the last time you looked in the mirror and felt proud? Not just okay, not just fine, but proud. Proud of the person staring back at you. For some of you, it's been years. For others, maybe never. Somewhere along the way, you stopped fighting. You started settling. You got comfortable in a life that doesn't inspire you, and you started calling it normal. You've been telling yourself stories. It's too late. I'm too far gone. I don't have the energy anymore. But deep down, you know those are lies. Because if you were truly okay, you wouldn't feel that ache in your chest every night before you fall asleep. You wouldn't be here right now listening to me. You are here because a part of you, no matter how small, no matter how faint, still believes there's more. A part of you still remembers that you were meant for something greater than just paying bills, scrolling through your phone, and waiting for the weekend. That part of you is screaming to wake up. And today, this is your moment. Not tomorrow, not when things calm down. Right now, I'm not here to give you fluff. I'm not here to tell you it's easy. I'm here to tell you the truth. You can rebuild your life from wherever you are, but only if you're willing to stop lying to yourself, stop making excuses, and start taking back control. If you give me your attention for the next few minutes, I'm going to give you the keys. 6 steps that will take you from where you are to where you know deep down you should be. 6 steps that will rip the blindfold off, fire up your heart, and get you building again, stronger, wiser, unstoppable. So, lean in. Because what I'm about to say might just be the moment you remember years from now, as the day your real life began. You cannot rebuild anything you refuse to admit is broken. That's where it starts. See, most people aren't stuck because they don't know what to do. They're stuck because they're still pretending everything's fine. And the problem with pretending is that it robs you of the urgency to change. You can't transform a house if you won't even acknowledge the cracks in the foundation. So many people walk through life wearing a mask, and it's exhausting. You wake up, put on that fake smile, tell your friends and family, I'm good, I'm fine, I'm okay, but deep down you're not. You feel the gap between the life you're living and the life you know you're capable of. You feel the weight of all the things you've been avoiding. And the truth is, you can numb that feeling with distractions, with work, with scrolling, with anything to keep you from sitting alone with yourself. But it never really goes away, does it? Let's get real. Excuses are comfortable, they're easy, they're socially acceptable. You can hide behind them for years and no one will call you out. I don't have the time. I don't have the money. It's just not the right season for me right now. But let's be honest. How many more years are you willing to hide behind those walls before you finally admit that they're not protecting you? They're imprisoning you. Some people will live their whole lives defending the very thing that's keeping them small. They'll defend their story. They'll defend their limitations. They'll defend their pain because it's familiar. And familiar feels safe. But safe isn't what you came here for. You were built to live, to grow, to expand, to contribute. That means you've got to have the courage to look yourself in the eye and say, this is not where I want to be, and I'm done pretending otherwise. Now I get it. Telling yourself the truth can be terrifying because the moment you do, you strip away the excuse that you didn't know better. The moment you face reality, you're responsible for changing it. That's why so many people avoid it. But I'm telling you right now, that responsibility is your power. That's the moment you stop waiting for life to fix itself and you start taking ownership. Let me give you an image. Imagine you're standing in a dark room and for years you've convinced yourself that the mess all around you isn't that bad because you can't really see it. Then one day someone flips the light switch. Suddenly you see everything. The dust, the clutter, the damage. It's overwhelming. You can't unsee it, and in that moment you have two choices. Turn the light back off and go back to living in denial, or keep the light on and start cleaning. Most people, they flip the light off. They say, it's too much. I can't handle this. But the truth is, the longer you keep it dark, the worse it gets. The longer you avoid the truth, the heavier it becomes. And one day it'll crush you. But if you keep the light on and you start, one piece at a time, you begin to clear space. You create room for something new. You create room for life. Here's the reality. You will never change what you tolerate. And right now there are things in your life you've been tolerating for far too long. A job you hate, a relationship that drains you, habits that sabotage you. And you've been calling it just the way it is. But deep down, you know it's not the way it has to be. You're just afraid of the alternative, because change means uncertainty, and uncertainty means risk. But here's the truth. There's risk in staying the same too. You risk living the rest of your life in quiet desperation, wondering what could have been if you had the courage to own the truth. You want to rebuild your life? Then stop telling yourself the polite version of your reality. Stop editing your story so it sounds better when you say it out loud. Get raw. Get unfiltered. Say it exactly how it is. Because that level of honesty will shake you awake, and when you're awake, you start to see options you never saw before. I've seen people turn their entire lives around in a matter of months, not because they suddenly got lucky or the universe handed them a miracle, but because they finally stopped lying to themselves. They looked in the mirror and said, this is where I am. It's not where I want to be. And I'm not going to waste another day pretending it's okay. That moment, that single moment of radical truth, is the ignition point for change. And here's something you need to understand. Owning the truth is not about beating yourself up. It's not about shame or self-punishment. It's about clarity. Because you cannot hit a target you refuse to see. When you tell yourself the truth, you stop shooting arrows into the dark and you start aiming at the life you actually want. But here's the deal. Once you own the truth, you have to protect it. Because the world will try to lull you back into comfort. Friends will say, you're fine, don't stress. Family will tell you, be grateful for what you have. And yes, gratitude is important, but gratitude without growth is stagnation. Don't let anyone convince you that settling for less than your potential is noble. It's not. It's cowardice wrapped in politeness. So I'm asking you to take a moment right now, right here, in this space, and drop the mask. Ask yourself, what am I pretending not to know? What truth have I been avoiding because it scares me? And am I willing today to finally face it? Because if the answer is yes, everything changes from this point forward. Your life won't rebuild itself. No one's coming to save you. This is your fight. This is your responsibility. And it starts the moment you stop lying to yourself and start owning your truth. Because once you do, there's no going back. Comfort is seductive. It whispers to you, stay here. You're safe. You've got enough. Why risk it? And for a while, it feels good. You're not pushing yourself too hard. You're not facing rejection. You're not failing. But here's the trap. Comfort doesn't stay neutral. It doesn't just hold you where you are. It slowly pulls you backward. You don't notice it at first because the decline is so gentle, so subtle. But over time, the dreams you had start fading. The fire you once felt becomes a flicker. And then one day you wake up and wonder how you became so numb. The truth is, human beings are built for challenge. We grow through resistance, through struggle, through leaning into the edge of what we can handle. But when you choose comfort over growth, you rob yourself of that edge. You trade the thrill of becoming for the dull safety of staying the same. And that's why so many people feel stuck. It's not because life is unfair. It's not because they lack opportunity. It's because they've built their entire existence around avoiding discomfort. Think about it. You can convince yourself you're living when you're really just existing. You've got a job that pays the bills. You've got a roof over your head. You've got routines that are familiar, and you start calling that good enough. But good enough is the death of greatness. The moment you settle for good enough, you stop striving. and you stop becoming the person you're capable of being. Look back at the times in your life when you grew the most. Were they the easy seasons? No. They were the times you were scared, the times you didn't know if you could make it, the times you were pushed beyond what you thought you could handle. Those moments, the ones that were messy and uncomfortable, shaped you. They made you resourceful. They made you strong. They made you more than you were before. But here's the problem. When you've been through hard times and you finally find a little stability, the temptation to hold on to it is overwhelming. You think, I just want to enjoy this. I just want peace. And that's okay for a moment. But if you stay there too long, that stability turns into stagnation. And when you stagnate, you start dying inside. It's like a muscle. If you stop challenging it, it gets weaker. And the same is true for your spirit, your discipline, your courage. They shrink when you don't use them. That's why you've got to make discomfort your ally. Not because pain is the goal, but because pain is the doorway. Discomfort is the sign that you're stretching. It's the evidence that you're doing something that matters. Some of you have been living inside a very well-decorated prison cell. It's comfortable. It's familiar. You know exactly where everything is, but the door is open. You can walk out anytime. The only thing keeping you there is that stepping outside means facing the unknown. And the unknown feels terrifying. But you have to remember this. Nothing extraordinary happens inside the walls of what's familiar. Everything you truly want is on the other side of that fear. I've met so many people who tell me they want to change. They want to rebuild their lives, but they're waiting for the right time. They say, I'll do it when I have more money, when the kids are older, when work slows down. But here's the truth. There is no right time. There's only now. And if you keep waiting for the perfect moment, you'll wait forever. Life will never hand you a risk-free opportunity to grow. You've got to create that moment by stepping into uncertainty. And yes, it's going to be uncomfortable. You're going to feel resistance. Your mind is going to scream, go back to what's safe. But you've got to push through. Because that discomfort is not a sign you're failing. It's a sign you're in the right place. It means you're breaking old patterns. It means you're stepping beyond the limits you've been living under. Let me be real with you. You cannot rebuild your life while holding on to the habits, the routines, and the environments that made you settle in the first place. You've got to break the cycle. You've got to interrupt the pattern. That might mean waking up earlier than you want to. That might mean saying no to the same friends who keep you in the same conversations. That might mean facing the fear of starting something new when you don't feel ready. And you know what? You're not going to feel ready. No one does. Readiness isn't a feeling, it's a decision. You've got to understand that discomfort is not the enemy. The enemy is the story you tell yourself about what discomfort means. Most people interpret it as danger, but the most successful people in the world interpret it as growth. They lean into it. They use it. They train themselves to recognize that the fastest way to a bigger life is through the things that make them nervous, uneasy, and a little scared. And I'm not talking about reckless risk. I'm talking about intentional discomfort, the kind that forces you to level up, the kind that makes you think differently, act differently, become different. You want to rebuild your life? Then you need to get addicted to progress, not comfort. You need to stop chasing the path of least resistance and start chasing the path of most growth. I want you to remember this. Growth always feels awkward at first. You're not supposed to feel confident in the beginning. You're supposed to feel out of place. That's the process. And if you can fall in love with that feeling, if you can see it as the proof that you're moving forward, then there's nothing you can't do. So the question you have to ask yourself is this: am I living for comfort or am I living for growth? Because you can't have both. Comfort will cost you your potential. Growth will cost you your comfort. But only one of those will give you the life you've been dreaming about. Step into the discomfort. That's where the rebuild begins. You can't rebuild your life with the same identity that created the life you're trying to change. It doesn't work. You can change your habits, you can change your environment, you can change your schedule, but if you don't change the way you see yourself at your core, you'll always end up right back where you started. Most people try to rebuild by stacking new behaviors on top of an old identity. They think, if I just start working out, if I just start reading, if I just start waking up earlier. But here's the truth. You don't act consistently with what you want. You act consistently with who you believe you are. If deep down you believe you're lazy, you'll sabotage every fitness routine you start. If you believe you're unlucky, you'll find a way to prove it, no matter what opportunities come your way. Your identity is the thermostat for your life. No matter what happens, you'll always return to the temperature you've set for yourself. That's why the most powerful shift you can make is an identity shift. Not, I'm trying to become disciplined, but I am disciplined. Not, I'm hoping to be confident, but I am confident. Because the moment you start speaking and acting from the identity you want, not the one you've been living, your brain begins to align everything to match it. But here's the catch. You can't just say it once and expect it to stick. You've been reinforcing your old identity for years, maybe decades. Every time you've said, I'm just not good with money, or I've never been in shape, or I always quit, you've been cementing that story into your brain. And your brain loves familiarity. It will fight to keep you in that old role, even if it's destroying you. That's why this isn't just about willpower. It's about reconditioning the way you see yourself. You have to be willing to question every story you've been telling yourself. Ask yourself, is this who I really am? Or is this who I've been choosing to be? Most people never ask that question because they've confused their past with their identity. Your past is just a collection of moments. It's not a definition of who you are unless you decide it is. Think about this. There's a version of you that's still stuck in the pain of who you were. There's another version of you that's waiting to be born, stronger, wiser, more resilient. But you can't live in both worlds. If you keep holding onto the old identity, you'll keep getting the old results. You've got to cut ties with that version of yourself. And that doesn't mean you hate that version. It means you honor it for getting you here. And then you let it go because you're ready for more. This is why so many people fail at rebuilding their lives. They're trying to upgrade their house without replacing the foundation. They're trying to act like a new person while secretly believing they're the same old person inside. And eventually the cracks show. They start slipping back into old habits, not because they're weak, but because their actions weren't in alignment with their identity. If you want lasting change, you have to decide right now who you're going to be from this moment forward. And you've got to start living in alignment with that decision immediately, not next month, not when it's convenient. Now, you've got to show up every single day as that new identity, even before you feel like it's really you. Because the more you act like that person, the more your brain will start to believe it. This is where most people get it wrong. They wait until they feel confident before they take action. They wait until they feel disciplined before they commit. They wait until they feel ready before they step forward. But feelings follow identity, and identity follows action. You don't wait for it to feel real. You make it real through repetition. Think of it like wearing a new pair of shoes. At first, they feel stiff and awkward. They're not broken in, but the more you wear them, the more natural they feel, until one day you forget you're even wearing them. That's what it's like stepping into a new identity. It's uncomfortable at first, but if you keep walking in it, it becomes who you are. Here's the question you need to ask yourself. Who do I need to become to live the life I want? Not what do I need to do? That comes later. The doing flows from the being. If you decide you're the kind of person who follows through no matter what, then discipline becomes natural. If you decide you're the kind of person who takes care of their health, then eating well and working out become non-negotiable. If you decide you're the kind of person who builds wealth, then saving and investing become part of your DNA. And here's the truth. You can make that decision today. You can redefine yourself in an instant. But you've got to back it with action, because if your actions and your identity don't match, your brain will default back to the old you. Every choice you make is either reinforcing the identity you want or the identity you're trying to leave behind. This is why it's so important to surround yourself with people who reflect the identity you want, not the one you've outgrown. If you're trying to be disciplined, but all your friends skip commitments and waste time, you'll feel the pull to go back to that old standard. But if you're around people who live at a higher level, who hold themselves to a higher standard, you'll naturally start matching their energy. You are not locked into the identity you've been living with. You can change the way you see yourself starting right now. And when you change that, everything else starts to shift. Your thoughts, your habits, your opportunities, your results. You stop sabotaging yourself because you're no longer trying to live as someone you don't believe you are. You start building momentum because your actions are finally aligned with the person you've decided to be. So stop saying, that's just who I am. That's not who you are. That's who you were. You can rewrite that story. You can choose a new identity. You can step into it right now, because if you don't, you'll keep rebuilding your life on the same shaky foundation and it'll keep collapsing. But if you do, if you decide right here, right now, to become the person who can handle the life you want, then this rebuild won't just last. It'll become the launch pad for everything you've been dreaming of. Because the moment you change your identity, you change your life. Motivation will get you excited, but discipline will get you results. And I don't mean the kind of discipline that shows up when you're feeling inspired. I mean the kind that shows up when you're tired, when you don't feel like it, when no one's watching, and when every excuse in the book is screaming at you to take the day off. Because if you're serious about rebuilding your life, you need to understand something. The gap between where you are and where you want to be is paved with consistent, often unglamorous actions. The problem is most people treat discipline like a switch they turn on when they're in the mood. But discipline is not a mood. Discipline is a muscle. And like any muscle, it only grows if you use it. The days you feel least like showing up are the days that matter the most, because that's when you're training your ability to keep promises to yourself. Think about it. How much would you trust a friend who only showed up when it was convenient for them? Not much, right? Yet that's how many people treat themselves. They set a goal, they make a plan, but the moment life gets inconvenient, they disappear. And every time they do, they send themselves a message. I can't trust me. That's the real cost of quitting. It's not just the missed workout or the skipped task. It's the erosion of self-respect. And when you lose trust in yourself, you start believing you're not capable of change. If you want to rebuild your life, you've got to reverse that. You've got to become the kind of person who does what they say they're going to do, especially when it's hard. Because every time you follow through, even in small things, you stack evidence in your own mind that you are reliable. And the more evidence you stack, the more unstoppable you become. Discipline isn't about intensity. It's about consistency. Anyone can go all in for a week. Anyone can be perfect for a short burst. But rebuilding your life is a long game. It's about creating systems and habits that you can sustain. It's about making the actions that matter automatic, so you don't have to negotiate with yourself every day. You've got to structure your mornings. You've got to control your environment. You've got to decide in advance what matters most and build your day around it. Because if you don't control your day will control you. And if you keep leaving things to the chance distraction will win. They lack discipline. But most people say they lack is discipline. What they really lack is clarity. They don't know exactly what they want. So every shiny distraction pulls them off track. You can't be disciplined about being better. You have to know what better looks like. How many hours are you going to work on your craft? What exactly will you do when you wake up? What are you going to stop tolerating in your daily routine? The clearer you are, the easier it becomes to stick to the path. But here's the part no one likes to hear. Discipline will feel uncomfortable in the beginning because you're asking your brain to do something different than it's used to. You're rewiring patterns, and that takes effort. At first, it feels like friction. But that's the point. That's the resistance you have to push through if you want lasting change. And the beautiful thing is, discipline compounds. Just like interest in a bank account, the small daily actions you take don't seem like much at first, but over time, they create massive results. The workout you almost skipped, the book you read for just 20 minutes, the uncomfortable conversation you finally had, these little victories stack up. And one day you wake up and realize the gap between the old you and the new you is massive. But it doesn't happen if you're constantly starting and stopping. Every time you quit and restart, you lose momentum. And momentum is everything. Once you've got it, it feels like the wind is at your back. But when you stop, it's like pushing a boulder from a dead stop all over again. So the best thing you can do is keep moving, even if it's slower than you want. You don't have to feel like doing it. You just have to do it. Action first, feelings later. Waiting for motivation is like waiting for the weather to be perfect every day. You'll be waiting forever. But if you commit to showing up no matter what, something amazing happens. Your brain starts to crave the things that once felt like chores. What was once hard becomes your new normal. And let's be honest, life is always going to throw you curveballs. You'll get sick, you'll have bad days, emergencies will happen, but discipline is what keeps you grounded through all of it. It's the anchor that keeps you from drifting back into old patterns when the waves hit. Without it, you'll get knocked off course by every little thing. With it, you keep moving forward, even when conditions aren't ideal. This is why rebuilding your life isn't about waiting for the perfect time. It's about building yourself into the kind of person who shows up no matter the time. The kind of person who doesn't need to be in the mood to do the work. The kind of person who understands that doing the hard thing today makes tomorrow easier. And here's the part that will change your life if you take it seriously. Discipline is freedom. Most people think discipline is restriction, but it's the opposite. Discipline gives you control over your life. It means you're not at the mercy of your moods, your circumstances, or your excuses. It means you get to decide how your life goes instead of letting life decide for you. Stop waiting to rebuild. Stop waiting for motivation to carry you. Build the muscle of waiting, the muscle of discipline. Train yourself to follow through day after day until it's part of who you are. Because when you have that, you can create anything. The person who has discipline is the person who wins. Every single thing you've been through, the heartbreaks, the losses, the betrayals, the failures, it all has a choice attached to it. Or you can let it refine you, or you can let it refine you. Pain is unavoidable, and every single person in the room you've got storing, if you're breathing, has got scars. But here's the thing about scars. They can either be proof you were broken or proof you healed stronger. The problem is, most people keep replaying the pain instead of rewriting the meaning. Something happens, and instead of asking, what is this here to teach me, they ask, why did this happen to me? And the moment you live in, why me? You hand your power away. You start believing life is happening to you instead of for you. And when you believe that, you become a victim of your own story. But what if, just for a moment, you looked at your pain as raw material? What if every hardship you've endured wasn't a curse, but a gift in disguise? I know it doesn't feel like it when you're in the middle of it. When you're standing in the wreckage, it's hard to imagine you'll ever see the beauty in it. But I promise you, the greatest breakthroughs in life often grow out of the darkest seasons. Think about the people you admire most. Are they the ones who had it easy? Or are they the ones who fought through hell and came out the other side stronger, wiser, more unstoppable? That's not an accident. Adversity shapes people in ways comfort never will. It forces you to dig deeper to find strength you didn't even know you had. Here's the thing, pain by itself doesn't make you stronger. Time doesn't heal all wounds. It's what you do with that pain that determines what it becomes. Two people can go through the same devastating loss. One lets it destroy them. The other uses it to fuel a mission, to build something meaningful, to become someone better. The difference is choice. When you start asking, how can I use this? Instead of, why did this happen? Your entire perspective changes. You stop seeing your past as a weight holding you down and start seeing it as the foundation for your rebuild. You stop running from your struggles and start mining them for the wisdom they hold, because every single setback contains a lesson, and those lessons are leverage. I'll be real with you. There's no magic eraser for what happened to you. You can't change the past, but you can change the meaning. You can decide that what tried to break you will be the very thing that builds you. You can decide that every person who doubted you just gave you more reason to keep going. You can decide that every closed door was redirecting you to something better. And when you make that decision, something shifts. You stop seeing yourself as damaged and you start seeing yourself as equipped. You realize that the very experiences you thought disqualified you are the ones that make you valuable, because you've been through things most people couldn't handle and you're still standing. That's power. Now that's resilience. That's proof. You can handle whatever comes next. But here's the truth. This transformation doesn't happen automatically. You have to choose it. You have to deliberately go back and reframe the meaning of your struggles. That heartbreak that shattered you, maybe it taught you the value of self-respect. That job you lost, maybe it forced you to finally pursue the career you were meant for. That failure that embarrassed you, maybe it was the training ground that prepared you for the opportunity you have now. When you start seeing your pain through that lens, it stops being the thing that holds you back and becomes the fuel that drives you forward. You stop being afraid of hard times because you know they can't break you. They can only build you. And let me tell you something else. When you've turned your pain into power, you become an example. People who are still in the dark look at you and see proof that it's possible to make it out. You start inspiring people you've never met just by the way you live. And that's not just about feeling good. That's about impact. That's about leaving a mark on this world that outlives you. But none of that happens if you keep clinging to the hurt. If you keep reliving the moment it all went wrong. If you keep letting your past dictate your future. You've got to decide that your story is not over and that the next chapters in not be written in the same ink as the last ones. I'm not telling you to pretend it didn't hurt. I'm telling you to make the hurt mean something. Let it shape you. Let it make you hungry. Let it make you so determined that the next time life tries to knock you down, it's going to have to hit harder because you've built yourself into someone who doesn't stay down. Your struggles are not chains. They are bricks. And if you use them right, you can build something stronger than you've ever had before. Because when you learn to turn pain into power, nothing can stop you. There comes a moment when you have to stop planning your comeback and actually step into it. You can talk about change all day. You can write down your goals, map out your future, read every book, watch every motivational video, and still be in the exact same place a year from now if you don't make a move. At some point, you have to stop preparing and start walking. The truth is, because they don't know what to start, fail because they know never to do. They fail because they never start. They wait. They wait for the perfect time, the perfect plan, the perfect opportunity, the perfect version of themselves. And you know what? That moment never comes. There is no perfect time. There is no perfect you. There is only right now. And right now is more than enough to begin. Rebuilding your life is not a someday project. It's not something you do when everything lines up and all the pieces fall into place. It's something you do in the middle of the mess, when it's inconvenient, when it's uncomfortable, when it's terrifying, because that's where momentum is born. And once you get momentum, everything changes. The first step will always feel too small. The first action will always feel like it can't possibly make a difference. But here's the thing. You don't need to move the mountain today. You just need to start pushing. Every great transformation started with one simple, often unimpressive action. The power is not in the size of the step. It's in the decision to take it. People think courage means you're fearless. It doesn't. Courage means you move forward, even while you're afraid. It means you take action before you feel ready. It means you stop waiting for confidence and start building it through action. Confidence is not something you wake up with. It's something you earn by proving to yourself over and over again that you can follow through. If you've been telling yourself you're going to start tomorrow, I have news for you. Tomorrow is a liar. Tomorrow has been lying to you for years. Tomorrow never shows up. The only day that's real is today, and if you don't act on it, you lose it. You lose another chance, another 24 hours you will never get back. That's how people wake up 5, 10, 20 years later, realizing they built a life they didn't want because they were always waiting for the right moment to build the one they did want. You have to take ownership of the fact that no one is coming to do it for you. No one is coming to hand you the life you've been dreaming about. No one is going to force you to take the steps you need to take. This is on you. And that's the most liberating truth you can embrace, because it means you don't have to wait for permission. You don't have to wait for circumstances to change. You can change them. You can decide right now that this is the day you start moving, no matter how small that move is. Will it be easy? Absolutely not. You're going to face resistance, not just from the world, but from yourself. Your brain will try to protect you from change by convincing you to stay where you are. It will whisper, not now, later. It's not the right time. You're not ready. You have to recognize that voice for what it is, fear disguised as logic. And you can't negotiate with it. You can't argue with it. You have to override it with action. Action kills fear every single time. You might still feel the fear, but the moment you act in spite of it, you take back control. And the more you do it, the less power that fear has over you. Before long, you start to realize that most of the things you were afraid of were illusions, stories you told yourself that kept you from moving forward. The greatest gift you can give yourself right now is to stop thinking about everything you could do, should do, or might do, and simply do one thing. One phone call, one conversation, one decision, one action. That's it. Because once you break the seal, the second step gets easier, and the third even easier. Soon, you're no longer thinking about change. You're living it. Momentum is a strange thing. It starts out feeling impossible to create, but once you have it, it's almost impossible to stop. But momentum doesn't come to people who hesitate. It comes to people who move, even when they don't feel like it. Look, rebuilding your life is not about waiting for inspiration. It's about building habits that don't require it. Discipline will get you where motivation won't. Discipline says, I'll do it whether I feel like it or not. And that's how you transform your life, by stacking those small, consistent actions until one day you look around and realize you've built something unrecognizable compared to where you started. This is your moment. Not next month, not after you get more money, Not after you feel better about yourself, right now. The decision you make in this very second could be the one that changes the entire trajectory of your life. But you have to stop waiting and start building. Life will not pause for you. Opportunities will pass. Relationships will fade. Time will keep moving whether you do or not. So the question is, when the clock runs out, will you be proud of how you spent it? Or will you be full of regret? You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't need to see the whole staircase to take the first step. You just have to start climbing, because if you keep waiting for the perfect moment, you'll be waiting until it's over. The truth is, you already know what you need to do. You've known for a long time. The only thing left is to do it. So stop waiting. Stop hesitating. Stop putting your dreams on layaway for a day that may never come. Start now.